A surfboard fin. A skeg is a hydrofoil mounted at the tail of a surfboard, a similar board to improve directional stability and control through foot steering. Fins can provide lateral lift opposed to the water and stabilize the board's trajectory, allowing the surfer to control direction by varying the side-to-side weight distribution. The introduction of fins in the 1930s revolutionized surfing and board design. Surfboard fins may be arrayed in different numbers and configurations. Many different shapes, sizes, and materials are and have been made and used. History. Historically, surfboards had no fins. Some amount of control was achieved through convex hulls and the surfer dragging a foot in the water. A common problem with these early boards was sliding, in which the tail would slip sideways, usually causing a wipeout. The first fixed fin was introduced by surfing pioneer Tom Blake in 1935. In Waikiki, Blake attached a 12-inch long, 4-inch deep metal keel from an abandoned speedboat to his surfboard, and was immediately impressed with the results. Around 1936, Woody Brown independently added a fixed fin to his second surfboard design in San Diego, which further popularized the feature. The stability and control fins allowed revolutionized the sport, though many surfers avoided them for several years. Evidently they were thought dangerous. The feature grew more common in the mid-1940s and became the universal industry standard in the 1950s. Experimentation with fin design and configuration increased after 1966 with the popularization of shortboards. Parallel double fins, first introduced in the 1940s by Bob Simmons, became periodically popular. In 1980, Simon Anderson introduced the three-fin thruster design, which has since become standard configurations. In surfing, there are two major types of surfboard fins, and a host of illustrative issues. Both the skeg and rail fins stabilize the motion of the surfboard. They also contribute to the desired effect of converting the push of the sloped wave face combined with the rider's mass on the sloped wave face into redirected energy. Lift. The surfer deflects his surfboard and fins off the water of the wave face to make forward progress across the wave face, or down the line, that is, parallel to the wave crest, and beach riding parallel to the crest in this way is known as trimming. Lift from the board and its fin is what enables all maneuvers in surfing. A skeg typically denotes one centrally mounted stabilizer foil mounted perpendicularly to the riding surface at the rear of the surfboard. Smaller surfboard fins mounted near the edge of the surfboard are known as rail fins, and are seen in multi-fin arrangements. Rail fins enable high-performance surfing, and are most often single-foiled, with one flat side and one foiled side, as seen on an airfoil. For greater lift, a fin configuration with fins near the edge of the board stabilizes and contributes lift during turning maneuvers, which contributes to the board's ability to hold during turning maneuvers. Rail fins are often seen in addition to a central fin, but can be used without a central fin as well. Some of the most popular multi-fin configurations use two rail fins plus a similar-sized central fin mounted further back, or four fins. Rail fins are more or less engaged by the rider's heel and toes as they lean in the desired direction of the turn. As the rider does so, an inside rail fin sinks deeper and its angle of attack is increased, as is its lift-induced drag. Rail fins also add lift in trim and, with greater holding ability, enable steeper wave faces to be ridden and higher speed down the line. Rail fins are typically towed in, that is, the leading edge of the fins are oriented toward the centerline of the surfboard. which decreases the angle of attack in trim, which makes it easier to initiate turns. Towing in rail fins also adds drag on the outside fin, as its angle of attack is negative during trim or in a turn. These combined factors of towed-in rail fins cause several issues. Drag on a towed-in outside rail fin can slow the board down in trim, but it can also give a braking effect during turns that is useful. The inside rail fin can be pumped, attacked and re-attacked by swerving up and down the face, causing acceleration down the line, or similarly pumped to achieve a desired trajectory through a multi-stage turn. At higher speeds, the drag off towed-in rail fins can cause surfboards to oscillate and become unstable, a phenomenon known as speed wobbles. Most surfboards intended for larger waves are longer, and as most shapers orient the rail fins toward the nose of the board. A longer board inherently results in reduced tow-in of rail fins, therefore less negative angle of attack, less oscillation, greater stability, and higher speeds. Rail fins also typically have some degree of cant, that is, are tilted out toward the rail they are adjacent to. This is a significant additional factor in lift at various attitudes, drag, and performance, as are the variables of other foils, including flexibility, thickness, and planform. Rail fins evolved into being and surged into popularity as riders sought a solution to two major performance issues of a central, single fin, both related to engagement of the foil. For one, a centrally mounted fin is tilted up out of the water as the board is leaned over, and thus it loses more and more of its lift as the lean angle increases. If the lean angle is acute enough, the fin's tip can be the only area left in the water. The tip may then rapidly stall and, having lost its lift, become disengaged from the water, leaving the board's bottom as the only control surface still operating. Before rail fins became popular, this tendency of single fins led to riders nursing turns. This tendency was a significant limiting factor on performance. The enhanced hold offered by rail fins during turning led to more types of maneuvers being possible. The other major issue leading to rail fins use is the fact that a rider can use the lift near the rail to increase speed and performance on smaller waves due to the above effects and abilities of these foils. Conventional static fins suffer from the inability to have a camber and attack angle always adapted to variations trajectories. The angles given to rail fins are a compromise, generating straight drag in oppositions in maneuvers. The center fin merit of being able to adjust its suction face and its angle with the direction of the turn to avoid the hydrodynamic stall. The fin camber and attack angle needed to accord to the different phases of trajectory. When turning left to right, the fins need to adjust the camber and attack angles to avoid hydrodynamic stall. So the adaptive dynamic attack and camber system brought a solution to this hydrodynamic problem. This surf fin technology introduced adaptable structures with variable geometry inspired by aeronautics and biomimetic in the surf. In windsurfing, a derivative of traditional surfing, skegs are also often used as a central stabilizing fin located at the rear of the board. A windsurfer's skeg also has the effect of producing lift, which allows the rider to direct the craft laterally against the lift the sail produces. The skeg has undergone numerous phases of development and, as with other foils, its design is determined by the balance of the pressures it experiences in use, including lift, drag, ventilation and stall. Types Glasson fins are fins that are permanently connected to the surfboard through fiberglass. This type of fin was mainly used on older model surfboards. Glasson fins are broken easily and are hard to repair. You rarely see these types of fins today because a different type of fin has replaced them. Removable fin systems. The most common types of fins used today. Removable fins are surfboard fins that can be unscrewed from the surfboard and be replaced by different fins or be moved about the board for a different setup in maneuverability and stability. In the early 90s, 3 Australian surfers invented the fin control system. Since its global release in 1994, FCS has become the industry standard, providing elite athletes and everyday surfers an abundance of fin designs and a platform to change the performance of the surfboard by changing fins. The system also streamlined the surfboard manufacturing process by making it easier to install fins into boards and repair damaged fins. The leading competitor to FCS fins is Futures Fins. Using a single larger fin box, the manufacturer claims the fins provide a stronger connection and more closely approximate the feeling of a Glasson fin. Flexible fins. Fins are used on most rental boards because of liability. These fins are much safer than a hard fin because they cannot cut you. However, it does lose some of the performance. ADAC system. Adaptive Dynamic Attack and Amp Camber fins. Biomechanics. Variable geometry fins able to adjust the attack angle and camber according to various phases of the trajectory. Materials used nowadays. Fins are normally made in plastic or fiber. Fiber fins are combining different materials to obtain better performance and better weight and flotation ratios, like honeycomb cores, bamboo core, and then glassed with fiber and sometimes reinforced with carbon fiber. Production. Tom Blake invented the first fin used on a surfboard. Although Blake's first fin was most like attaching a keel from a boat to the bottom of the board, Blake's findings started the development of the fins in use today. From Blake's first fin, people, perhaps most famously Bob Simmons and George Greenough, have modified and invented new types of surfboard fins. Simmons was apparently the first to use more than one fin on a surfboard. Greenough made the fin flexible and took inspiration from the fins of fish and dolphins. Bob Simmons used a twin keel design on innovative wooden boards of his own design and manufacture in the 9-10 range, which he rode in large surf at Wind and Sea in California. In the 1970s, multi-fin systems became much more widely used in competition and by average surfers, as top professionals like Larry Bertelsmann and Mark Richards enjoyed competitive success maneuvering shorter boards with twin fins in smaller surf and tighter radius sterns. It wasn't till the 1980s that Simon Anderson invented the popular thruster setup, which stabilized the board compared to the twin fin setup, and provided more control and lifting surfaces in an effective configuration. The design was an immediate competitive success for Anderson, inasmuch as he immediately won 2 very famous surf contests using thrusters, and the entire surfing world quickly followed his lead. The thruster is the dominant fin configuration to this day in both recreational and competition surfing setups and shapes. Single fin. The single fin setup is the original fin setup. Single fin setups are common on long boards. They are usually long and wider than other fins, which make the board controllable with only the one fin. Twin fin. The twin fin setup has 2 smaller fins mounted near the rail. This setup provides extra speed and easier turning. Thruster. The most common setup. The thruster is a tri-fin. All the fins are the same size, with 2 semi-parallel fins mounted near the rails 10 to 12 inches forward of the tail and a middle fin at 3 to 5 inch. 2+1 setup. The 2+1 denotes a larger center fin with 2 small to medium small fins at a position close to thruster rail fin positions. The side bites contribute some lift, control, and stability to the board when it is on rail. Arc working through turns. Typically, side bites are removable, so the surfer can take them out for use in smaller waves, which gives less drag and freer turning. The 2+1 is a popular configuration for mid-length to long boards. Quad setup. The quad setup is 4 fins, 2 on each side, in a similar position to the rail fins on a thruster. The fronts are typically larger than the rears, but this is not always the case. The rears are nearly always inboard and aft of the fronts. The exact measurements and configuration of the quad setup can vary pretty widely. This setup is often used in short boards and provides more lift and control surface near the rail. There is no center fin. Twinza setup. The Twinza is a design by Will Jobson and similar to the Campbell brothers' Bonza. The fin setup is held to be functionally integral and synergistic with the bottom contours of the board, specifically a butt tail with an integral convex double channel. The fin setup itself is 4 fins, 2 on each side, in a similar position to the rail fins on a thruster. The fronts are smaller than the rears, often roughly 1/3 the size, mounted ahead and outboard of the fronts, with tilde 8 degrees of outward cant, and notably, the fins' trailing edges are behind the leading edges of the main fins. The water coming off the trailing edge of the canards becomes part of the flow behind the main fins. This fact is held to enhance the lift and speed of the setup because of the slot effect. The exact measurements and configuration of the Twinza are basically standardized by Jobson, but some variation is seen amongst different builders. Tunnel fin. See tunnel fin. Bonza. The Bonza is a 3-5 array invented by the Campbell brothers in Oxnard, California in the early 1970s for the powerful waves of a well-known wave near the home. The Bonza array is an approximately 7 inches center fin aft and either 2 or 4 delta-shaped fins mounted near the rails in somewhat similar fashion to other rail fins, but they are substantially lower aspect and aggressively canted outward. The Bonza array is firmly held to be an integral part of the Campbell brothers' overall board design, featuring double concave bottom contours out the tail. Diamond quad. The Diamond quad is a design by John Kobe of Noosa, Australia. It was first test surfed on the 11th of July 16 at Tea Point, Noosa. The purpose of the design was to induce more looseness into longboards. The design features a stabilizer tail fin, 2 side fins, and a destabilizer fin in the center and anterior to the side fins, called a dorsal fin. The initial test, performed on a 9 feet 6 inches Tolhurst Toughlight with a retrofitted slot for the dorsal fin, was extremely successful, making the board feel at least 50% looser. After continuous development, the Diamond quad has seen the tail fin become smaller and the side fins become bigger. The main drive in the Diamond quad now comes from the side fins. The dorsal fin is small, 3.75 deep and usually somewhere between 600 mm to 680 mm forward of the tail, depending on the length and width of the board. The final sweet spot of the dorsal fin can only be found by surfing and adjusting. Too far forward placement induces excessive instability and makes the longboard too loose and difficult to control. The fin is progressively moved back in small increments, usually about 5 mm at a time, until a suitable amount of stability and control is achieved. The Diamond quad also allows a longboard to trim a couple of degrees tighter, ride higher on the wall and be more stable in white water turbulence. FYN central line. The central line configuration comes from optimizations of dynamic system ADAC conducted in France by J.F. Iglesias, and applied to surf since 2014 with the brand FYN. U.S. patent and first import of the system comes in U.S. in 2015. Dynamic system (ADAC) eliminates the need for asymmetric fins antagonists. The central position of fins for more efficient rail support. It is natural to place the dynamic fins on the center line to benefit from all the advantages. The configuration on the center line thus increases the force of the rail support to benefit from the effects of leading edge flaps and adjust the positions of the gaps between the fins. The configuration on the center line of the dynamic fin has maneuverability and drive the system ADAC in, also the effectiveness of the rail support of the central position that was formerly reserved only for singles. Dimpled fins 3D-Fins feature golf ball dimple technology. 3D-Fins dimple technology is based on the golf ball dimples. A surfboard fin with dimples creates a turbulent flow. A fin without dimples is more a laminar flow. Turbulent flow has more adhesion. Slow when you start to turn. The dimpled fin surface delays the flow separation, reducing cavitations, allowing the foil to maintain performance. When the surfer is turning at high speeds, the turbulent boundary layer helps the flow overcome an adverse pressure gradient and allows the fin to remain attached to the surface longer than it would otherwise. This reduces drag, increases lift and improves overall performance of the fin design. A world tour proven innovation that has set the path for 3D-Fins as an innovator of fins. The dimples are unique to 3D-Fins trademark, designed by Australian surfer-inventor Courtney Potter while working closely with Josh Kerr, Jamie O'Brien and Christian Fletcher, and a comprehensive series of fluid dynamic testing. The results have continued to astound. The testimonials from pros and average Joes prove it. Dimples make a difference.